guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 9 o'clock on a Thursday and it's time for a Magic Stuff. And today I'm going to be doing another in the 3 best trick series. And I'm going to be talking about 3 color changing decks that you've probably never seen before. Now, the color changing deck is a plot that has been around for years and years and years. For those of you that have been living under a rock or that are completely brand new to Magic and you don't know what the color changing deck is, the whole idea is that a deck of cards changes color. Now, there's a few different ways that this can happen. Sometimes some routines will have the color changing deck as a kicker. So in other words, they'll be doing a series of routines and at the end the deck changes color. Other routines, that's the main focus. So in other words, the main focus is you've got this deck of cards and it changes color. There's millions of different versions of the color changing deck, many of which I've performed on Magic Live before. But I want to try and present to you today 3 routines, 3 color changing decks that there's a very good chance that you might not have seen before. Now, this is probably going to be one of a couple of videos. We'll do another one in a few months' time because I know so many different color changing decks. It's kind of very difficult to pick which ones to do because there's a lot that I think might have flown under people's radar for one reason or another. And I'm going to start off by looking at a color changing deck that's been around for many, many years that I've seen very few people perform. And it's from one of my favorite magicians, Derek Dingle. Let's have a look at that right now. So the first color changing deck is by Derek Dingle, and this is called Color Triumphant 2, and you can find it in the complete works of Derek Dingle. Now, Color Triumphant 2, as you can imagine, is a follow-on from Color Triumphant 1, or Color Triumphant, which I think was in Dingle's Deceptions. I learnt this many, many years ago, and basically, it's a version of Triumph. But the Triumph then has a kicker at the end where the entire deck ends up in the, the entire deck, the full deck ends up changing color, which is just a really great kicker. Now, there have been other routines like this before. In my opinion, Derek's is the absolute best version. Let's have a look at the full performance of this routine first of all, and then I'll talk to you about why it's so good. Okay, so I've got Sarah behind the camera again. You're going to help me with this one as well, okay, sir? Okay. This was created by one of my favourite magicians, a guy called Derek Dingle. And it's called Color Triumphant 2. It's in the complete works of Derek Dingle. And you don't care. You just want to see the trick, don't you?
Yeah. But you go ahead, because people will want to know.
Yeah, right. So the idea is really simple here. You are going to pick a card here. Right. So as I riffle down the deck, just say stop.
Stop.
There?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, that card right there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to do this because I don't want to see the card. I'm going to give it a glimpse. I don't want to see it, but yeah. Can you see that card? Yeah. Now I'm going to give you a choice. Are you happy with that card, or do you want to go for a different card? You can go for a different. Okay, okay, cool. I'm going to pop that card about halfway down, maybe a little bit further down, but about halfway. Is that cool?
Yeah.
And now I'm going to give the deck a very special shuffle. What I'm going to do, well, a very, very special shuffle actually. I'm going to cut the deck into 3 piles.
Right.
Like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 piles. I'm going to turn half the cards face up. I'm going to take half the cards face down. And I'm going to shuffle the cards face up into face down. Do you see that?
Yeah.
There's a technical term for that. It's called a mess. Because if you think about it, we've shuffled the cards face up into face down. Yeah. Now I'm going to take this packet, turn this packet over, and I'm going to do the same thing again. So I'm going to take this packet and shuffle face up into face down, like that. Okay. Is that fair?
Yeah.
So now we have a situation that when we cut through the cards, you'll see that there's face up cards, there's face down cards, cards back to face, cards face to back. These cards are all mixed up. So what I have to do is find your card, right? Now let me ask you a question. If I told you to sort these cards out so they're all facing the right way, how long do you reckon it'd take you?
It'd probably take me a while.
What about if I told you I could sort them out in 1 second and find your card?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, watch this. Here we go. 1 second and find your card. Done.
Right.
You see, what I've done is I've turned every single card back face up, except for 1 card.
Is that my card?
And 1 card only. I don't know, you tell me, was it Jack of Diamonds? Which is pretty good, right? It's pretty good. But in all honesty with you, it would have been easy to find your card even if I didn't do that.
Why?
Because you see, your card is the only one now in the entire deck
Oh my goodness.
with a red back.
Very good.
Okay, so that was Colour Triumphant 2. Now, I changed it slightly from how it's written up in the complete works of Derek Dingle, where how Derek Dingle explains to do it is you have a regular red deck of cards, and they pick a card, and you force the particular card that you need. You then have them lose that card in the pack, and he uses something called a two-fisted deck switch or something, and he laps one deck and he brings the other deck into view. So he ends up bringing the prep deck into view. What I did in that routine is I had the prep deck in view from the whole time, and I just forced the card that I needed them to pick. Now, that's how I normally do it when I'm actually performing this. However, there are times where I'll have this set up. I'll start off with a regular red deck of cards. I'll force, I think it was in this case, the Jack of Diamonds in this performance. I'll force the Jack of Diamonds, and then what I'll do is, as I go into the pocket to get a box or something, I'll switch the deck. So it can be done one of two ways, but I wanted to point that out for you. Now, what's really nice about this, and if you watch the performance back again, you'll see the displays that you actually have in this routine are absolutely amazing. And what I mean by that is you've only got 3 red back cards in this deck. And out using those 3 red back cards, you end up with so many displays where it looks like you've just got a red deck. People are convinced that that red deck of cards is red, even though only 3 cards are red. And the routining and the structure behind it is what makes those displays so good. The fact that you can do a full triumph and do the full triumph and then have the kicker at the end is great. Now, I'm going to go into the main negative first of all, which is this does require a table, as you saw in the performance. Now, you could, if you wanted to, instead, I mean, obviously, I did it the way that Derek Dingle wrote it up, which is to do riffle shuffles and tabled cuts, which is fine, but you wouldn't be able to pull that off on a non-close-up mat or on a non-soft surface. Now, I have played around with doing this with faro shuffles and, like having faro shuffles down onto the table, which is great. Which is great. You still need a table, but you don't need a close-up pad, and that's fine. But I think this routine is best in a situation where it's like a parlor show, or it's kind of an environment where you have got a close-up pad and maybe you've got a small audience around you. It might be a bunko booth, it might be a parlor show, it might be a bar magic or something like that. I think that's where this is best. It's a great routine though. It's absolutely fantastic. From an examinability point of view, you're left with 2 stranger cards in the deck, which are very near the top of the deck, so you can just palm those off. Or when you show the odd-backed card at the very, very end, you can just steal those other 2 cards as you just put them into your pocket. That works really, really well as well. Either way, it's pretty much examinable at the end almost straight away, which is great. There's no angles to worry about it either. It's pretty much angle-proof. And it's really, really deceptive. Sometimes when you see routines like this, where you're combining 2 plots in order to get a color changing deck kicker, sometimes what you find is that they weaken the first phase in order to have the kicker of the second phase, the color changing deck. And that's not the case here. This is a very strong triumph routine. You're not using Zarro shuffles, you're not using push through shuffles. It's actually not a very difficult routine to do, which is rare for Derek Dingle because some of his stuff is solid as a rock. But this is actually a fairly easy routine to do. As long as you can riffle shuffle and you can do some false cuts and table slip cuts, you're good to go. So yeah, it's a great routine. It's the best routine of its type when it comes to a colour-changing deck kicker after a triumph. And people just don't see it coming. They just don't see it coming. And as I say, if you perform it, you can have it so that you do it the way that Dingle suggested, which is starting off with a regular deck. But I, to be honest, think it works well as a standalone item where you just bring out the deck prepped and ready to go and you go straight into that routine. So that's the first one. It's Colour Triumphant 2. You can find it in the complete works of Derek Dingle, which is a Kaufman and Greenberg book, or you can find the original in Dingle's Deceptions. Now let's go on to a second routine using a colour-changing deck, and this is by John Gustafaro. So routine number 2, we have a colour-changing deck which is very, very interesting because it's gone through lots of different versions throughout the years. The original version of this was put on the Brainstormer DVDs by John Gustafaro, which came out through L&L Publishing. Then he rewrote the routine and added some extra bits and pieces to it and released it in his book, 1 Degree. Interesting side note, I actually performed this routine on the Wizard Product Review to David Penn. I look a lot younger than I do now. Probably about 10 years ago, I actually performed this routine. And I think it was called Technicolor Color Stunner or something like that. And it was this routine that I chose to do out of 1 Degree, and I gave it a fantastic grade because it is an amazing routine. Then I think he put another version of this out on Second Storm. I'm fairly sure there was an ebook as well that had an updated handling, because this is what John G does. He's constantly refining his routines. Now, the latest version of this, which is the version I'm going to perform for you, is called Wonder Aces. Now, Wonder Aces is available as a standalone download on Vanishing Ink, and it's not even that much money. I think it's like $7 or $8, something like that. And you learn this full routine. So I'm going to perform this now so you can see exactly what Wonder Aces is. I'm performing the latest version of this, and we'll talk about why it's so good. And I'm here with Reagan. So, Reagan, we're going to do a card trick right now.
Okay.
I'm going to try and find 4 cards from this deck. I'm going to try and find the 4 kings. Are you ready? And each one I'm going to find in a more impressive way.
Okay.
The first one, I just give the cards a little bit of a cut and I rub right there. And when I do, I get a king. Now that's the king of diamonds, which is pretty cool. It just appeared, but I said that each one was going to be more impressive. So let's see if we can do it with the next one. Now watch, I'm just going to take the king of diamonds, put it on top of the face down deck and snap. And when I do, what happens is the entire deck inverts and every single card turns face up, except for one card right down there in the middle. And hopefully that would be the second king. That's the 2 red kings. Let's try that again. Let's try that again, yeah? Well, so we've got the 2 red kings. Now watch. If I just take these 2 red kings and wave them over the pack, as I do, one card appears in between them. One card and one card only, and that would be the 3rd king. So we've got the king of spades. We've got the king of hearts. We've got the king of diamonds. Let's try the last king. Hold your hand out flat for me there, Reagan. I'm going to take the last king and just do this, the king of clubs. It's there, it's just invisible. Can you see it?
No.
Probably not until I rub these over and then we get the final king, the king of clubs, which is pretty good, right?
Yeah.
But you know me well enough to know that I always like to have a big finish to my card tricks, right?
Yeah.
So let's see if we can do a big finish. I want you to watch very carefully. Do not blink for a minute. Watch the cards, watch the kings. I'm just going to take the kings, cut them face down into a face-up deck. And when I do, something amazing will happen. I'm telling you right now, when I cut these kings into the deck, something amazing will happen. 1, 2, 3. You see, what happens is the entire deck turns blue. Well, except for the kings. I mean, obviously, we can't make the kings turn blue unless I did that, and then we could have these turn blue as well. Right? Even I don't understand that one, and I just did it. Anyway. So there you go. Reagan was blown away by that one. Now, this is it's an amazing opener. It really is, because when you've finished, when you've done the full routine, you are left with a regular deck. You've got 4 cards that you just need to cop out. And you've got all the misdirection in the world to cop those 4 cards out, because you've just dropped the kings and you've turned them over. Everyone's looking at that. You cop the 4 cards. And as I go in for the card case, I tend to just leave them in my pocket and I just spread the cards out. I've been doing this in virtual shows for a very, very long time. As I said, I've been doing this routine for over a decade. I started doing it. The first time I learned it was for the Wizard Product Review, and I've learned various different versions of it along the way. It's an amazing routine. It really is. What I love about it is the economy of motion. Everything from a routining point of view is really well thought out. And this is another example of what I was talking about earlier on, which is the audience think that you're doing something completely different, and then you kick them in the head in the end with this color changing deck. But you start off by taking the cards and You start off with a color change with a 4/8 production, and what's nice about it is even though you're having to hide backs during the 4/8 production or the 4 king production in my case, you're not compromising the quality of the 4 aces being produced. The first ace is nice. Each ace builds. The second ace has that inversion moment where the entire deck turns face up, except for the card in the middle, which is great. Then you've got the third ace, which is the sandwich, and then you've got the final ace where it appears on the table, or if you've got a spectator's hand, it can appear in their hand. It's a really, really, really nice 4/8 production, and he has actually published that as a 4/8 production in its own right. But then you get into a situation where you've got that beautiful moment, and it's an amazing use of the ballet cut. It looks like you just take the 4 of a kind, the 4 kings, cut them into the pack, and you've got that, as you cut them into the pack, the deck changes colour. Absolutely fantastic. And then just when they think it's over and the entire deck's changed colour, you go, well, except for the kings, they've just seen the kings. They buy into the fact that the kings can't change colour, and then you show the kings have changed colour, and everything's examinable. Oh my gosh, talk about a great routine. It's a 5-second reset. You don't need a table. That's the beautiful thing about this. You do not need a table to do this routine. It can be done completely in the hands. There's no angle considerations to think of. It's a very quick routine that's over very, very quickly. You're left with a regular deck, so you can then go into anything else. Not only are you left with a regular deck, you're left with a regular deck with a 4 of a kind produced from it. So you can go into your favorite 4 of a kind routine, or you can transition from wonder aces into a routine that uses a 4 of a kind. And from experience, I can tell you that the reactions that you get from this are just absolutely mind-blowing. And it's not that difficult to do. You have options at the very, very beginning. So at the very, very beginning, you can have it set up so that if you do it so that you spread the cards face up at the beginning, you have to do almost like a Chris twist or a deep half pass and a couple of slip cuts. But if you don't, but you can actually set it up a little bit further, it means that you can't spread through the cards face up at the beginning, but it eliminates the half pass and the slip cuts. Now, when I first started doing this, I thought I need to be able to show it face up. And so I did the half pass, and although it's fine and it's covered, I realised after a while you don't need to do that half pass because you're kind of running without being chased. You know, you bring a deck of cards out, it's a deck of cards. People just buy that immediately, and you go straight into the 4 of a kind production. And I know 4 of a kind productions are old hat, but this 4 of a kind production, you know, laymen absolutely love it. It is the thing that laymen get blown away by when you produce a 4 of a kind, and when you've got a 4 of a kind that gets produced like this, where each phase builds, mind blowing. And they don't see the kicker coming. They just don't see it coming. They don't see that color-changing deck coming at all. So it's a great routine. You can download it straight now. Just go into Vanishing Ink, type in Wonder Aces. You'll see it, Wonder Aces by John Costafaro. Honestly, if you don't do this routine, you need to go and watch the download. It's absolutely exceptional. It's one of my favourite color-changing deck routines that there is. And honestly, if I had to pick one, I don't know, it would either be this one or the next routine I'm about to show you on Magic Stuff. I don't know, but I'd have a hard time dropping this because I've been doing it for over a decade. So there you go. It's Wonder Aces by John Costafaro. It's really good. Now let's have a look at the final color-changing deck that you've probably not seen before. So the final routine that you've probably never seen before that uses a colour-changing deck is a routine of mine. It's called Sandwich Colour Stunner, which is a little bit similar to Colour Stunner by Paul Harris in name, but it's got nothing to do with the Paul Harris routine. It's called Sandwich Colour Stunner. And the whole idea is it's another routine where the colour-changing deck happens as a kicker ending. And what I mean by that is it's a sandwich routine. It's like a 2-phase sandwich routine. And at the end of the 2-phase sandwich routine, you're in a position where you've been hiding the backs so you can go into a colour-changing deck. And the way that you do it builds quite nicely. Now, my inspiration for this, I published this many, many years ago in one of my ebooks that I released many, many years ago. And my inspiration for this was a routine that I put on blank, which I think it's called Speed Camera Cards. I did it on a Magic Live recently, which is like a 6-phase sandwich routine. And the first phase of that is a way of actually, the first phase is basically a way of loading a card that you show in the middle of the deck in between two kings, using a side steal. But the side steal is covered because as you show the two kings on top of the deck, you're side stealing the card. And I realized after doing that routine for a while that I was hiding pretty much every back in the pack. And then at the same time, I was performing Wonder Aces or colour, whatever it was back then. And I realised that I could incorporate maybe the same methodology into this. And that's where the routine came from. Let's have a look at it. I'll do a full performance of it to Sarah. Let's have a look at it. And then we'll talk about, in my opinion, what makes it so good. Right, okay, Sarah, we're going to do a trick. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Brilliant. I've got a pack of playing cards. And there's 52 cards here, obviously. I'm going to take 2 cards out the pack, and you get to choose. We need 2 cards, which are going to help us do the trick. Now, would you like to use the kings, the queens, or the jacks?
Queens.
Queens, reds or blacks?
Blacks.
Cool stuff. So I can take out the 2 black queens. We have the queen of spades. And we have somewhere in here the queen of clubs. 2 black queens. You happy with that?
Yeah.
So the idea is you're going to pick a card. And you can pick any card you want to. But please, whatever you do, don't pick the queens. So I'm going to leave the queen stepped on top so you don't pick a queen. I'm going to riffle down the deck. Just say stop.
Stop.
Cool. There. Are you happy?
Yeah.
I'm just going to show you the card. Can you see that? I'm showing.
Lower?
Bit lower?
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Cool. Don't let me see it because if I see it, it's not that sort of trick. Now,
Okay.
I don't know. I know that you didn't pick a black queen because we left those on top. But other than that, would you agree that I couldn't possibly know what your card is?
Yeah.
The reason I didn't want you to pick the black queens is because these are the cards that are going to find your card. See, if I just wave them over the pack like this, what happens is one card actually appears right here in between them,
Right.
which is the ace of spades.
My card.
Was that your card?
It was.
Now, you know what? When I do this, people say, well, that's pretty good, but can you do it again? So I'm going to do it again. I want you to see, there's the queen, there's the ace, there's the queen. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Now, look, I'm going to take the, what was your card again? It was the ace of spades, wasn't it? I'm going to take the ace of spades, and I want you to watch. I'm going to pop that card about halfway down.
Right.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Leave it about there.
As fair as it can be with a magician.
Well, exactly. Yeah. But I want you to watch there. Watch the gap in between the 2 black kings. I'm going to, 2 black queens. I'm going to leave them on top. I'm going to do it again. 1, 2, 3, and you can see one card right there. It's the ace of spades.
Okay.
It's pretty cool, right? Now I'm gonna do this one last time under test conditions. I'm going to divide the deck into 2 halves. And I'm going to take the 2 black queens.
Yeah.
And cut them right there into the middle of this packet.
Right.
Now, if I took this ace of spades and I told you I could make it jump from here to here, would that be good?
Yeah.
It would, but theatrically, I have to go further than that. You see, that's good, but I want to go further than that.
Okay.
So I want to show you something kind of really weird. I'm going to try and make this ace of spades stand out. And you could have picked any card. You picked the ace of spades. Instead of making it jump in between the queens, I'm going to make it stand out. Like this. Watch. If I take that ace of spades and just rub on top of the pack, what happens is this card actually turns blue. But if I rub the ace of spades there, what happens is the ace of spades actually turns blue. You see, what happens is the ace of spades turns blue. The card underneath it turns blue. But not only that, every single card in the pack, every single card in this half has now turned blue. But then there's this half. Right. And if I just do this with this half, what happens? No. Every single card in this half turns blue, except for the 2 queens, which you picked.
Yes.
They can't turn blue.
Right.
Until I do this. And even they turn blue. And every single card has turned blue. But I did say I was going to make your card stand out. Right. Your card no longer stands out because it's the same colour as everyone else. So if I snap my fingers, I can turn that back to red. And everything is examinable. Nice. So there you have it. It's a really cool routine, right? Now, what's really nice about it is it uses 1 gaffed card, it uses a red-blue double backer, and it uses 1 stranger card, which is the card that they pick. So it uses 1 red back card and 1 red-blue double backer, and you're left in a position where the entire deck is immediately examinable. Completely immediately examinable, which is nice. You know, you compare that to I mean, if you have a look at Wonder Aces, which is an amazing routine, but you're left with 4 cards that you have to palm out the pack, right? You're left with 4 odd-backed cards which you need to palm out. Even the first routine, Colour Triumphant, you've got 2 cards in there that you have to palm out. At the end of the routine, every card is on display. You can see all of the backs because you've still got a stranger card there. So you've still got 1 red back card, which you're openly showing, and then you've got a red-blue double backer at the top, which is blue side up, so everything looks fine. And what you can do is, as you show that red-blue double backer, as you show the selection, you just put it on top of the deck, steal as a gimmick, put it away into your pocket, and you're left with a regular deck of cards. So you're left in a position where you can display every single back. They think they're seeing everything, and you just put the card away, and you reset. You've got everything's examinable, and when you want to do it again, you just take those 2 cards out, put them on top of the deck, and you're set up again. Now, the first, if you actually think about how many displays of red back cards you see when you've only got actually, in essence, 2 red backs to show, the displays are actually really cool. And it feels like you're seeing more red surfaces than you actually are. And I like the fact that there's 2 phases, which you don't see a lot with routines like this. Normally with the routines like this, it's like, let's do Triumph. Now there's a colour changing deck. But with this, it's like, well, let's do I'm going to use these cards to find your selection. Let's do that again. And then you go to do it again, but you say, well, let's see if we can go 1 step further. And that's when you go into the colour changing deck. So you've got 2 phases where it's got nothing to do with the colour changing deck, which is really, really nice. It doesn't require a table at all. It can be done completely in the hands. There are moments where you have to put cards down, but you can just give it to a spectator to hold with good audience management. That's not a problem. There's no angles to speak of as well. It's actually pretty easy to do, other than the side steal at the beginning, which is more of an advanced move. It's not actually that difficult. What I like about this as well is it almost feels like the deck, normally with a colour changing deck, it's like, boom, the deck's changed colour. Normally with these routines where it's a kicker, that's what happens. Look at the Colour Triumphant 2. Look, there's your card. It's the only one that's not turned over. But look, the entire deck's blue. This kind of happens in phases. So you take the 2 queens and you cut them into this packet, and then you slowly take their selected card, and you have it change the back of the card on top of the deck. Then that card changes and you openly see the selection is now blue. You put the selection down and every card has turned blue. They think that moment's over, but then you go back here and you spread through and you show every card is now blue over there, except for the 2 queens, but they turn blue as well, which is so cool, which is why I say at the very beginning, you can have what 2 court cards would you like? It's up to you, because it doesn't matter, because it's not like I'm having to use 2 court cards that are a different colour to get the displays. That's not the case. And then, so you turn those over and everything goes blue, but then you say, well, hang on, your card's not standing out. Let me see if I can make that card turn back to red. And then everything's examinable. So it's almost like the colour change builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, and you've got a kicker ending at the end where the selected card goes back. And of course, it can be a signed card if you want it to be. So yeah, I mean, there's so much to like about this routine. It's not difficult as well, as I say, and it's an instant reset, no table required, easy to do, anytime, anywhere. I've even in the past, to be honest, gone into this, and I don't know if this is really the best way to do it, but just to let you know how versatile this is, I've had the 2 gimmicks in this pocket that I need, or the odd backed card and the double backer, and I've been doing stuff with a blue back deck, and I'm like, let's see if we can go 1 step further. I need a pen for this. Let me put the blue deck away, and I'll take out a red deck. You'll need a pen because you're going to sign a card, and I come out with apparently a different deck. And all I've done is I've loaded the 2 selections on top of the blue deck, and now it looks like I've taken a red deck out, which is absolutely flown every time I've done it. That's how deceptive this is, and how convincing it is with regards to the various displays. So there you go. Now, where can you learn this from? It's from an ebook that has long since gone. I don't even know if I've got it anymore, to be honest. Maybe if I search through one of my old hard drives. However, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with Back Off on the packet trick three packet tricks you've never seen before. I'm going to give you guys a tutorial to this, because if you want to learn it, I don't think it's fair me showing your routine and saying, well, you can't learn this anymore, there's no source for it, ha 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 ha, tough, screw you. So I do want you guys to learn it. So there's going to be a link down below, and the link will be to probably a 1, 2, 3 form or something like that, which is what we've done before. Just put your name and your email address in, and what will happen is that will fire off the automation inside Infusionsoft, and within half an hour it'll send you an email with a link to an unlisted video, and you can learn this full routine. Just do me a favor, do not share the routine around. I don't just send people the link. If they want it, get them to drop the email. You know, I don't do tutorials on this channel. I've got no problem with tutorials. I just don't do tutorials on this channel. So I'm going to do it as an unlisted video, and I'm going to just give me your email address and I'll send you the link to the unlisted video, and enjoy it. It's a really commercial routine. And more importantly, let me know down below what you think of it. I'd love to know your thoughts on this whole video. So there you go. Like I said earlier, I would love to know your thoughts on all three of these routines. What do you think of Derek Dingle's? What do you think of John Gustafero's? What do you think of mine? Which is your favourite? Do you do any of them at the moment? And if you do, how do you find the reactions? And if you don't, which colour changing decks do you use? I want to do another one of these. I've got lots of other colour changing decks I want to highlight to you and I want to bring to your attention, but maybe there's one I don't know. Probably is. So if you let me know down below what your favourite colour changing deck is, I would love to know. And once again, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you want to see more videos like this, like the video, leave a comment down below, and I will be back tomorrow with a magic rant. So I'll see you then. Thanks very much for watching. My name's Craig from Magic TV.